Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Chris and I run a small 3D printing business in my basement with the purpose of just documenting my business journey for you guys since I started in January of 2024. We had a huge achievement last month. In the month of July alone, we had over 100 orders manufactured, packed, and shipped, items that were not exactly all small. It always amazes me how much I can actually get out of this small space, and I hope we can get a lot more because Christmas is coming fast. I've got to wrap up some stuff from July, but let's go ahead and talk business and answer some questions from you guys. Before we dive in, I just want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, and that is you guys. Your support really means the world to me. I had no idea what this channel would become as I just threw out my first video documenting my business journey, but the business has been growing, and I really want to make this business work to show and prove to everybody else that this is something that you can start with a little bit of grit, a little bit of time, and just a little bit of money. It doesn't take much. So thanks again for sticking around on this journey. Thank you to my Patreon supporters for helping me support this channel financially, to be able to spend the extra little time to put out these videos for you, and also to help with equipment that goes into the video production process. If you're interested, you can feel free to check out the link below. I have my Patreon there. I do have some extra stuff that could help you with your business journey along the way. But anyway, let's get back to the video, and thanks again. Really appreciate everyone's support. So let's quick recap July and talk some specifics. So in the month of July, I actually had 106 sales, which is crazy. Now that does include a couple sales that were digital files from my Shopify store, but everything else was physical. I am currently running the 4 Bamboo P1S printers, and man, they are workhorses. For reference, just because I know someone will ask, I still do have a shattered glass front on one of them, but actually, the printer works 100% fine, and I do have the replacement. I've just literally not had time to swap it out. So maybe this week I'll get around to that and maybe put out a little video on how to do the replacement. So if anyone else has the problem, they can fix it too. These printers, though, have been really like churning out product. I would honestly say that they could maybe run like another 50% of the time, even though they are running quite a lot. I'm not like constantly sitting here and changing over orders all the time. I do try to like batch it as much as I can so I can have somewhat of a life. But overall, it's been pretty exciting in the month of July. The one thing that I'm finding to be an issue is actually order staging. So let's go talk about that really quick. All right, so I think a lot of you have already seen this, but this is my shelving I actually built. Pretty simple, some wood, but these brackets, which I'll show you in a second, I did mount upside down, and a lot of people online are pretty upset about that, but I think it's kind of funny. But they are used for bookends, so things don't fall off, which you can see down here with the filament. This is currently kind of a catch-all storage for not only my filament, stuff that's in storage, currently in use, and then order staging. Now, the problem I'm running into with such a small shop and running into this amount of orders is you really have to have quick turnover. So if you have extra space, getting out a couple extra tables, you can kind of get your orders all set out so that way you can batch work on things. So one thing I'm trying to improve is how can I batch my work best to create some efficiency, save me time, and get orders out quicker. I think I'm going to have to switch this up, and probably not a project for today, but I did want to talk about it. These rolls, I need to find a better solution to go to. I really don't even use these. These are kind of like experimental rolls that I end up using. If I put a roll on the printer in the AMS unit, it pretty much gets used almost immediately because that's why it's in the AMS. But when I do have orders come off, I'll put the packing slip down, and then I'll put the parts right on top, and then I'll go ahead and do the post-processing, if there is any, at a later time. But anyway, this is the current setup I have. If you guys have any ideas, or this is something that you do, I'd love to hear kind of other solutions that people have. I'm probably going to continue to explore options on my end. This works okay, I just need some more space. The other update was I got another roll of, or not roll, I got another set of rolls of bamboo filament, and we're rocking another 20 rolls of black PLA. So good stuff. That's pretty much all I use. But now I'm running into the problem where I don't even have enough storage for the extra filament that I need to have on hand for later use. So that's also kind of tricky. But again, I guess problems of a 75 square foot workshop, I'd say. Another update is I use this Scotch cushion lock stuff, not sponsored or anything, but it's just a nice recyclable packing material. And I have a dispenser that I 3D printed and designed, not this one, that you can check out on my Patreon, or I think it's on my Shopify store as well. It's a great, great solution for the rolls that are this size. I found out this month that when you have 100 orders coming in, these rolls, they don't cut it anymore. So I ended up buying the really big boy. These big rolls cost, man, I think like 80 bucks for 750 feet or 1,000 feet or something of the packing material. And then I ended up getting the stand with it. They have an entirely different side to this. You can see how big this hole is. It's just not feasible to really 3D print something that I was happy with to get that functionality. So I decided to finally buy the stand that I originally bought or 3D printed and designed a product to replace, but quickly found out that can't replace it technically because can't use the big rolls with the small spool holders. So either way, I guess that's a good news because that means the business is growing. So it's kind of cool to see those types of purchases become necessary. All right, let's work on post-processing stuff. And while I'm doing that, I'd like to answer some questions from the community. The first question here is from Morelshi11. I'll put it up on the screen here. Does anyone have issues with the AMS failing? I just bought the combo and one of the spools always has an issue retracting. And actually, yes, I do. And I've not found a solution. So in my AMS 2 units, the very far left spool, I have had some issues where it just won't retract or it won't feed incorrectly, even though there's filament. Now, I have seen some issues or where like maybe the filament and the spool are not heavy enough. So you actually have to put some like weight in the center. That could be a thing, but my big call out here is if anybody knows, for me and for this other person, some simple fixes that you might have for that, please comment below. I'd really appreciate your feedback on that because I'll tell you what, it is kind of annoying. Next question is from Andrew Longfellow 8745, and they say, you said something interesting. It takes 3 build plates to basically make a part that you are selling. So one of the products I make takes 3 prints essentially to finalize the product. Are you doing any extra upcharge for the price on that? And the answer is kind of. I have always talked about designing products in a way that it can come right off the printer and go right into the box. And that is one of those products for the most part. This product, which is actually the one I'm working on now, can come off the printer pretty much done. Just a little bit of cleanup work and then a little extra part, but it doesn't take that much time. What I'm finding now is that complexity of parts also makes you more unique in the market. So I've kind of become more okay with the idea of more complex parts. And a lot of this is also with my partner as well. He has some very unique, very complex designs that is the value, right? The value is not only the problems they solve, but also the design and how they're made. So we take pride in that piece of it, and it doesn't always mean, you know, making something that comes right off the printer. Now, I'm still selling a lot of my own stuff that does come right off the printer. So when you blend all those things together, even though it takes a couple extra times, it's not a big deal. I am getting to the point in the business with this one, and I think I maybe mentioned this in a previous video, but when I move out of this little space, which will basically mean the business dictates that because I cannot operate in such a small area, and the goal would be to have like 14 printers, 10 to 14 printers. When you have that many, which I know in the grand scheme of things is still not a lot, you can start to do batch work. So even though you have a product that takes 3 print plates, you can just print all of them at the same time so the product comes off the printer at the same time, per se. So that's kind of the solution I'm going to be going for in the long run. Right now, it's a little bit of extra work, but it makes a good product and it's well worth it. And it is priced in to some extent, so that way you're not totally losing money. One thing to think about, and which is what I used to do a while ago, is I've always said, like, try to shoot for a minimum of $10 of profit margin on all of your products. Now, that's not true for all of my products, but that's kind of the goal, right? Is I would like to be able to take home 10 bucks with every sale I make. For most of those, that means 10 bucks for touching the printer once, taking the plate off and removing the product one time. So if you go by that same philosophy, with 2 build plate product, then you should be getting 20 bucks, and so on and so forth. So as long as it's priced that way, it's no problem. All right, next question is from PJ Man Alatify. Man, these are like the bane of my existence. I'm so bad at that. But they say, hey Chris, for 2025, did you create an LLC already? Did you create a business account, checking and savings, and all of that stuff? And the answer is yes, I have an LLC here in the United States that I run my business under. It's just a sole proprietorship because that's all it has to be. And I have a bank set up. I'm not going to share what bank. You can do your own research and figure out. But there are some banks that provide free checking accounts for business, so you don't have to pay like a yearly or monthly fee or have minimum deposit or spend requirements. So do your shopping as you do that. What I would say is when you get your bank account set up, this is probably the most important part. What you're going to want to have is probably 4 different accounts. And I have another video. I'll put a tab up here for it. Comes from a book called Profit First. If you have not read it, it's phenomenal. It's from a business owner who made it big and then lost it all. And I think maybe did that a couple times. And he dissected why, after having so much money, he could lose it all. And it was because of this exact thing. So his new method, which is in the Profit First book, not a sponsor, but highly, highly recommend, is set up 4 accounts. So you're going to want to have a tax account, a deposits account, a pay yourself account, because you want to make money for yourself, and a operations account. Have all of your money funnel into the deposits account. And then from there, take 30% of all the deposited money and put it into the tax account. Take 10% of all the money and put it into the pay yourself account. That's the money you get to keep at the end of the day. And then after that, put the rest into operations. Now, when you're running your business and you're thinking about future purchases and decision making and can I buy this, yes or no, you have the money in your operations account and that is it. If you don't have it in your operations account, do not spend it. End of story. His whole argument is that we spend what we have, and for a lot of businesses, and this is true for large corporate companies too, you give them $100, they'll spend $100. And if we limit ourselves financially with the operations account, what we end up doing is finding creative solutions for those same problems rather than going out and spending money on them. So anyway, that's my long answer to your question. I hope that helps. Check out the book. Check out my video on the book. Both are good and very helpful. The last thing I want to just highlight here is from Oz Food Garden. It says, now you say you're in your 30s like you're old. I remember those days. Like you, I relied on myself mostly rather than those connections you and I didn't have. Now I'm very early retiree looking for a part-time business venture involving 3D printing and enjoying the journey so far. And this was just making me think of somebody. I remember when I was in my early 20s, which again, I guess really isn't that long ago. You are older, clearly, than people in their early teens. And me being in my 30s, I am older than people than when I was in my early 20s. And it's interesting, as each decade goes on, I get to reflect on what I've done and kind of figure that out and share it with people. But just know that if you're in your 20s, people in their teens are potentially looking up to you as a role model. And if you're in your 30s, same thing with the 20s. So just because you're young doesn't mean you don't have something to offer. And that should also make you think about how you spend your time and what you do with your day, because that's important too, because that could be a reflection for somebody younger than you who's looking up to you. So anyway, I just think that's funny. It just made me think of you only need to be a couple steps ahead of somebody else to be able to provide value and input into their life. All right, so now that I got all of these boxes packed up, these are a little bit different than like my normal Etsy orders because I don't buy the packing slips directly on Etsy. And the nice thing about Etsy in this case is you can actually put like the item weight and all that stuff in with the product listing when you first make it. So technically a lot of the work that I'm doing here is not necessary if you're selling directly off Etsy. But this is all for the partnership I'm in. Now that they're all boxed and they have the packing slips attached to the box to keep everything sorted, I'm gonna go ahead and weigh all of these and then I'll write the weight on top. And then the next step is to actually buy the packing slips. I'm gonna do that later tonight. It's not something I can easily show you guys because I have a bunch of personal information from customers, but you can just go on USPS or UPS or whatever carrier you want and just enter in the box size, the weight, and the shipping information, and it's actually that easy. So you should be able to figure that out. All right, boxes other than the big one on the bottom are packed and pretty much just ready to buy the shipping labels. Like I said, I'm gonna do that later tonight, and I also have a bunch of orders on my own Etsy shop that I actually have to get fulfilled, including some here that I've staged and some over there on the shelf. But either way, if you made it this far, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys' support. If you like 3D printing, you like business, and you want to watch someone struggle through getting their business off the ground, this is the channel for you. Feel free to like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon if you'd like to support or get on my pipe. I do have some things like this, which is going to be the release for this month. This is a tape roll holder that you can use and then mount onto the wall and use like a normal tape dispenser when you're not packing orders the other way. Kind of a fun little design that I came up with, and I'll be finalizing that and putting it up on Patreon for my supporters this month. If you have questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below. Thanks again. Live streams are on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Be there or don't be there, I guess, but feel free to join the community and ask me questions live. And I'll see you then or next weekend.